Welcome to a weekly movie talk on a Friday. We are entering Christmas season, Yule season. We are getting ready for solstice. The nights are getting longer, and it's just a cheerful season. And we're gonna celebrate it with movies that aren't technically Christmas movies, but taking place during Christmas season. And to begin this with, we're gonna start with one of the classics, 1985, Invasion USA. As always, welcome my co-host, Sean. How are you today, Sean?
I'm doing fine. I'm looking about 15 years younger,
Yeah, your
haircut. I even got the part. I ain't had a part in 15 years, so I was like, hey, give me a part on my foot. There we go. Doing
looking
fine,
good,
though.
man.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I'm doing fine, and I'm looking forward to talking these Christmas movies that are not technically Christmas movies, but takes place during Christmas movies.
And they're all kicking ass. I think all we're gonna talk is from the 80s, and 80s movies, strong Ronald Reagan presidential years, kicking communists in the ass, and that's what the season is all about, isn't it?
I'm gonna hit you so hard with my right, you're gonna beg for a left, man. Yeah, exactly. Lines like that.
And lines like Mexican standoff with fucking bazookas. Rocket launchers.
It's movies like this that always make you get excited when you hear lines like that. You chuckle a bit and they're like, yeah, that's so manly and shit. Like we lost that edge.
Yeah, totally. And it sucks. It's 80s, better days, better movies, and Invasion USA is something that is part of my holiday tradition. I know a lot of people always say Die Hard is the Christmas movie, the Christmas action movie, but I think that in the conversation, Invasion USA gets overlooked a lot. And it's interesting because from the distributor MGM, until 2007, I didn't know what went past it, but this was the most selling video after Gone with the Wind.
You're going to have to piss a lot of critics off. Like, how is this movie right behind Gone with the Wind? Like, think about it. Gone with the Wind starring Clark Gable. And then you got Chuck Norris and Invasion USA. Huh? What? Hey, believe it.
Rightfully so. Hey, Mars Comics, thanks for joining. Hope you're well and glad you're back. Yeah, but I totally get it with VHS sales, especially back in the days. Canon was on fire. They couldn't do any wrong until later, of course, Superman Quest for Peace. but that's another story for the future. But Chuck Norris was hot in this era, and action movies on VHS directly from the videotheque, video rental places. This was just a thing, it was the weekend, you rented yourself a VHS, you had a pizza, had a good soda, and just put the action movie on and have a shit ton of fun.
Yeah. And they start the movie off with killing of immigrants just to get the coke, just to get the drugs. So right there, you see the kid and his father, point out the shit. And I'm like, damn, that's not going to go too well, man. And Richard Lynch, he played this so perfectly as, thinking that, he's a good guy, he's going to help him out. And then, bam, flip the trigger, they all gone.
Yeah, it's right in the beginning of the movie, you see people, and then you see in a boat Richard Lynch, and probably not gonna be one of the good guys. Oh, no. I mean, Richard Lynch, legendary actor, always portrayed kick-ass villains. Sadly, passed away in 2012, and especially in the B-movie sector, Richard Lynch was the villain actor. And funny thing is, who is basically the second most famous villain actor in B movies?
I want to say, I don't know. I was thinking Robert Zarr, you know, with the whole chin and stuff, and he's always been a great henchman in those B movies. But I don't know. There's a couple of them.
Billy Drago.
Who gets shot in the dick in this movie.
Yes.
Oh,
as much as I appreciate that it has Billy Drago in it, because every movie gets better by having Billy Drago in it, it's like they totally wasted him in that role.
But see, this was before the Untouchables, you know, where he got his big sign in that movie.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like he was still a bit player in the movie scene. So he just got his scene, got a couple lines, got shot in the dick. It was over for him.
Yeah.
But that's a classic scene, though. That's one scene that VCR Death posts every year, and I always love it, man. It'd be like, this is where Richard Lynch tell you don't do drugs. Bam, smash the lady while she's snorting the coke, shoots him in the dick, throw her out the window, and like, don't fuck with Richard Lynch.
That's one of the scenes, especially, you know, when he punched the hooker's head down on the table and she basically got her cocaine. What is it called in English? Like, where you in?
She snorted, man.
It's not it, but it's like, what is this instrument called in English?
Oh shit! No, I just usually call it a snorter. You know, they use it to snort.
Yes, a snorter. Let's call it a snorter.
That's snorter.
And she totally gets a snort in the nose. Blood is flowing out. This is a scene you could totally feel.
And it's like double the damage. You know, he smashed her head, get that the snorter jammed into her nose, and then he throws her out the window casually.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, man. Don't do drugs. It's not good for your health. And if Richard Lynch see you, he's gonna throw you out the window.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that after that whole scene, the black dude go in there, sees the drugs, sees the bodies, and he just grabbed the drugs. And it's like, oh, I can make profit off this. He like,
which is funny because Canon cut so much out of this movie. Like, they basically cut away most of the backstory points for a lot of characters. That's why a lot of characters look like they were important, but I have only a little screen time. However, they just wanted to have an action fest. Yeah. However, they had enough time to leave that scene in.
Yeah. And the first time we see Chuck Norris is riding on his motorboat on the swamps and wrestling the gator and putting it in the box. I'm like, Chuck Norris, that's normal day life for him, man. Gators can't beat him. A bear can't beat him. Anything go up against Chuck, they lose him.
Yeah, and you can totally see in that scene how proud the gator was to be in a movie with Chuck Norris.
Yep. He's like, yo, I hope y'all put my name in the credits.
Yeah.
Swamp Gator in Florida.
Yeah, it's basically classic action movie start. Villains do something very unforgivable, shooting down innocent people. And then, of course, you have the close-up of the hero. Usually they're riding motorcycles or something, but here, of course, he's in Florida in the Everglades, and you see him like majestically, like almost like
his beard is nice and prime.
Yeah, hoovering over the Everglades,
looking like he's about to go cause damage, man. Like all the gators there were running for their lives.
Exactly, and we also find out soon that he basically is an ex-commando, an ex-special forces, and shit is happening in the US. Like, communist bastards are trying to disrupt the society in Florida and to basically make the people revolt against each other. Yeah, but basically back in the days you needed to have exterior communists for. Now the USA has homegrown communists to do that shit.
It's crazy. Back then, we expect the commies to come from overseas. Now they're already here. Yeah. But you know, it's funny how you know I like the villain's explanation of attacking America when it's weak. And what better time to do it than Christmas when they're all celebrating and having fun and doing all their shopping. It's like, shit, that's when America's ass weak is during holiday season. So they like, let's tack to it in. You know, one thing I like about Richard Lynch's character is how Chuck Norris keeps coming back in his dreams, you know, because of his last defeat. And he's so obsessed with taking him out that they like, the first thing we do before we initiate our plan, take him out first. That way he's non-factor. So I thought that was a great way to start the movie, as opposed to them just, you know, finding out later on that, you know, the bad guy's here and he going after him. Like, no, it gave justification for what's the name to come out of retirement to chase him down.
Totally. There's like that's at least this part of the backstory they left in, because it's quite vital for the movie, which is interesting because when I watched it in English for the first time, it was a totally new movie to me, because I went back then when I was a teenager and I watched it in German back in the day. It was a vastly different movie because Richard Lynch's character was not a Russian, but he was also American.
Yeah, when I was a kid and I watched this movie, I literally thought he was from overseas. I thought he was Russian because he played it so convincingly.
Yeah, but here they gave him like an American name, and it said he was American because tension in the Cold War between East and West Germany was so hot in the 80s. They didn't want to further the tension, so they made it like an inter-American conflict.
But he played it well, man. He sold it.
Yeah, Richard Lynch played everything well, and he really sold it like crazy. Yeah, it's really a pity that we lost so many of these great actors. Like I said, Richard Lynch in 2012, Billy Drake in 2019. At least Chuck Norris is still around, and
Chuck Norris is immortal, man. Like,
yes.
If Father Time refused to take out Chuck Norris, because Father Time might die, and not Chuck Norris.
He's gonna roundhouse kick that bastard back in the beginning of mankind.
Dev said he'll go after everybody except Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Chuck Norris memes that took over in the 2000s is crazy, man.
Yeah. Fun fact: Jeff, the Cantonese comic kid, sent me a DM today on Instagram. That Chuck Norris is just releasing a Chuck Norris Christmas sweater.
Yeah,
perfect in time for our live stream, since we're starting the Christmas season with Chuck Norris. So if you want to buy a Chuck Norris Christmas sweater, head on his IG, and I think the link is in the profile, and I think it looks dope. I really have to contemplate about getting it. Just have to check the shipping, the shipping costs. Maybe all those kids get that package and it just flies here.
Yeah, Jeff sent me the same thing. I was like, man, look at Chuck Norris looking badass at his age in that suit, man. I'm like, come on, man. Chuck Norris is immortal. You can't tell me that man's gonna die. Like, hey, when they were shooting the bullets at him in the mall, the bullets refused to hit Chuck Norris because they just knew they was gonna ricochet, man.
Amen, Mass Comics.
Yeah, man. Nothing affects Chuck Norris, man. If Chuck Norris got coronavirus would have been done with. He would have had the vaccine in his system to cure everybody.
Yeah. And talking about Chuck Norris, like, his character also has a killer name. As we always know, an action hero has to have a name that rings, that stays with you after the movie, and Matt Hunter is like such a name, like it oozes machismo, and basically stands. And I basically only have to say the name Matt Hunter, and villains are falling dead everywhere. They're dropping like flies.
Last off the name, he's like, ah. I love how, you know, everything comes to play when he survived the house burning, and he goes in and he stabs the guy in the hand because he was there. And, you know, he told him, give me the information. And then when Rostov come later saying he was alive and you wasn't at your destination, you know, this guy, you know, he's like, oh, you know, I ain't give him much, but, you know, what can I do? So, you know, Rostov is so pissed off that, you know, not only he survived the house explosion with all the bazookas, but he's now coming back to take out their operation. Man, he did the second dick shot in the movie. I was like, damn, man, what you got against that
Like, yeah.
Like,
Nobody
yeah,
wants to talk in a dick, so.
Like, shoot me in the head, but don't shoot me there. That's worse.
But yeah, I totally get the thinking of Richard Linklater's character Mikhail Rostov. Everybody else says he's crazy because he's endangered a mission to invade the USA. Because
But he knows that one man can stop him. That's why he has this issue. Like, this one man stopped me before.
As long as Matt Hunter is out there, the mission is always in danger. So he, of course, has the plan to hunt him down and to kill him, him without being aware of the plan. But as we know, when he's just there and cutting wood, you can already see he had a sense that something is happening.
What's up, something?
Yo, D.
Yeah, the thing about it is Matt's friend came by. That's what tipped it all off. Because if his friend didn't come by and notice those guys was aiming at the house, then he wouldn't have been alerted. You know, he yelled Matt's name and then he started blasting. Mm-hmm. So his friend definitely gave him the sense that there's danger outside. Yeah,
what was also really cool cast with Dale. What's the name? Dale Beatty, who also is sadly no longer with us. I think he passed away in the 90s, and his character name also has a certain ring to it. It's like John Eagle. That's basically a name that screams freedom.
Well, he is a Apache, a legit Apache native. So, that, I mean, a name like that, you got the name John, and then you add Eagle to it. It goes back to the whole Native Americans, with their love for the eagles and stuff like that. So it just fit the character. I like how he's a guy who's trying to evade government taxes and all that stuff with his business.
That's money good. That's because you're not making any money.
Yeah, you ain't made no money in 39 years. That's why they ain't been hunting you down. But I thought for the short screen time he had, could have got a little bit more with those two. Yeah, he's certainly a character that totally stays with you in your memory, and I think he also has a real cool death because, of course, he also took one of the bastards out, and the other one he gave a nice cut in the hand, at least. Yeah. Which came back to get him again. So.
Yeah, but it's a memorable death scene, and as a second-tier character in an action movie, that's how you want to go out.
Yeah.
But of course, since they tried to kill Matt Hunter on this mission and they totally failed, Matt Hunter is back on the scene and is ready to kick some ass.
That's it. They done awoken the sleeping giant because the CIA wanted him back on the mission. Now that they know Rostov was back in the country, but Matt was like, "You should have let me kill him the first time." And when you think about it, it's like we always see these high moral grounds between, certain agencies that don't want you to kill the villain. But then the villain escaped and stuff, and you're like, man, sometimes you gotta come to a point where this guy's gonna keep escaping and causing more havoc. You gotta take him out.
Yeah, just saying, as a non-American, giving the CIA a moral high ground, that's truly the realm of science fiction.
All right, he's here. He says,
"My apologies, guys. Good afternoon.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
Work called, and I had a work call at 3:30. 3 that was supposed to be over at 3:30, and sure enough, it went a little longer. But good afternoon, guys. I hope you're doing well.
Good afternoon, man.
Very well. Hope you're well too.
Or good evening, VV. In your case,
you thought maybe you had a difficult time coming here. Maybe you were holed up in the mall and you had to find your way over here.
Look, man, if I could get that Nissan truck that was in the mall, I'd be happy. I watched it today at work. I had it on, and I watched it again today, and I just remember looking at that truck, thinking like, as a kid growing up, for some reason that 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder Nissan truck was like the thing in the 80s. You know, like that was the truck. Like in Back to the Future had it, they had it, or it might have been a Toyota in Back to the Future, but definitely, man, that was maybe.
Successful product placement.
Yeah. Hey, Nissan probably shelled out some bucks for that truck to be in there because it was all hit up with the KC lights. It looked pretty good.
And
Go ahead. The movie had a real nice budget with 12 million.
Yeah, I know it was 12 million. I mean, they destroyed a lot of cars and a lot of sets. So I mean, they must have done some work.
Not only sets like the housing they destroyed were like for real because they needed to destroy anyway for new building. But that submarine setting was demolished for real, and it really benefits the movie. Basically they cut out a lot of the plot, so it's basically an action galore fest. But to be honest, isn't that the thing we expect when you're tuning into a Chuck Norris movie?
A Chuck Norris and a Cannon film action movie. Cannon film, you know you're going to get some nudity. You're going to get you're going to get a lot of explosions. You're going to get some violence. You're going to get some blood. And
or you might get a stuntman that might get legit injured on the set.
Hurt, yes. But I mean, whenever I would see a Cannon film come up and it was an action movie or a police or whatever, you're just like, man, this is going to be violent. There's going to be explosions. I'm in it to win it. Like this is it. Like I'm done for 2 hours. I'm watching this flick to get wrapped up at the end and we're good to go.
But yeah, you may get like people injured, but at least Chuck Norris knows how to handle a wet mount set.
True. Alec Baldwin. I don't know if you saw his little interview. It was kind of funny. He's like, well, had I known it was loaded, I wouldn't have pointed and fired. I'm like, okay.
Have you seen 30 Rock?
Yes.
I totally was ready to hear him to blame it on the Generalissimo. I didn't pull the trigger. It was the Generalissimo.
Oh, man. What a great flick. I watched it today. I mean, again, going to the budget, like, okay, they had to rent World War II troop carriers to bring the guys on that landing scene on the beach. Like, I'm like, all right, this World War II, troop carriers that were probably used in D-Day. We got helicopters, tanks, all this stuff. And I'm like, in my head, I was trying to wrap my head. I'm like, how? I mean, granted, it's 12 million 1984 money, or 85 money, which is more impressive. But I'm like, they did a lot of stuff for that budget, and it was a good movie. The props,
and somehow I think that Hollywood really hates teenagers having fun on the beach, because if a fucking shark won't eat you in the sea, bloody commie's gonna kill you on the beach.
I also like during that landing scene though, all the different people that are coming off these troops. You got like Cubans, you got people from the Middle East, you got
like Eastern German,
like,
we can't hate this movie. They were ethnically diverse in this film.
Terrorists of the world unite. You got Eastern Europeans, like Russians. Like I saw
Eastern Germans.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Hey, they all united.
Yeah.
Like how well, like what kills me is that you have all the terrorists from around the world, but yet it's one guy pulling the strings. It's like, come, how did this happen?
Yeah, and it's also like think about the recruitment. It's like within the whole commentary when you recruit people, of course, from Soviet Russia, from Eastern Germany, from Cuba, from other socialist countries. This doesn't sound like very low key.
Yeah, like, see how I would have picked something up if they're going around and recruiting people. I mean,
but you know what's fun? But you know what's funny? How this movie has these guys infiltrate the police and the army. I'm like, wait a minute, they How they infiltrated so quickly?
Well, I like it when Chuck Norris shoots the Asian soldier. He asks him for his ID, and he's like, "Wait a minute!" He just like mows the guy down. I'm like, "What if it was legit like a soldier he just mowed down for no reason?" Like, I'm sitting there watching the scene, and I'm like, "Well, okay."
Of course, it's like he knew something was foul.
Yeah,
Having like when you stop a white person in America in a car, and they really have to show their to show their data and everything, you know something is like wrong.
Yeah,
So
like,
of
all right.
course, like, you had to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Hey, talk about how to turn the police into bad guys when they infiltrated the cops and just took out all the people.
That house party or whatever, the block party, and they roll out, and the guy comes out and they just mow them. When the real cops come, they're throwing bricks.
I'm like, damn. It's some real good guys, but yeah, they like, yo, the cops just shot us, man. Fuck y'all.
The worst is these guys have guns and they're throwing bricks at them. What, they're gonna mow them down again? That's all I was thinking. Is like, I was just like, get them, throw bricks at them. Like, these dudes got guns. What are you gonna do with a couple bricks and bottles?
Like, if you think those cops came shooting y'all, these cops could have been right there with them.
Yeah.
Oh man, this movie crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh geez. Another scene I really liked in the movie though is when they're doing the drug arms deal. And I
so talked about
his
that before,
Drago.
yeah.
I forget his first name. Is it Billy Drago?
Yep.
It's Billy Drago. Like I said,
a lot of those.
it's so fantastic to have Billy Drago in this movie, but also you immediately feel like the character is totally wasted.
Yeah, he's like, hey, like he comes out like he's stoned or high or whatever. They're doing the deal, and then when the girl's doing lines off his table, and he bops his head, and her straw goes up her nose, and he pulls his gun out and throws dudes out the window, chick out the window. I was just like, wow, like, you know, living in Florida I remember we moved to Florida in '86, and we went down to Miami, and that was like the era of the cocaine cowboy, and that's like, I'm like, man, that is so relatable, like. Something like, not I'll say something like that going down, but you have the guys smuggling drugs in order to get money, weapons, whatever. But I was like, wow, that really fits into that era. And then it also fits into like, hey, this is a, you know, end of the Cold War type film. And they're going to play on people's fear of, you know, invasion and whatever and all this. I'm like, so you got the home aspect of, you know, the drugs in your home, Ronald Reagan, just say no. And then, hey, terrorists are coming for you. So it's like both fronts are coming at you. I'm like, this is great.
I think I'm way too European to find the cocaine cowboy related.
They call them the cocaine cowboys down in South Florida, man. Like legit, like back in the day, like you went to certain parts of Miami, you weren't coming out.
Yeah, you might run into some Scarface looking motherfucker.
And then basically, when I was young, I totally expected like the first thing if you would go to the U.S. and come off the airport, you're getting mugged.
Yeah. After watching movies, I believe it. I buy it.
Yeah, that's basically what our expectation was of the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, Sean, you said it had a little bit of Scarface feel, like that South Miami feel. Also, like, I know Miami Vice came out a little later than this, but you kind of had that Miami Vice type feel in it too, like when they were in the South Florida part of the movie.
Miami Vice came out 2 years prior, so
did it come out 83?
Yeah, I think it came out 83. But it ended around 88, if I'm not mistaken, 88 or 89.
It mixes a lot of things because also with the whole invasion thing of obviously you also think about Red Dawn, which I think was released 1 year prior. So it has like the whole like drug theme. It has the invasion theme, and I think Chuck Norris came up with the story when he heard a news report that there are like 100 terrorists moving freely in the U.S. and he thought, that would be interesting topic for a movie.
One man army.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's what his one man army, you know. But then, like, if you swap out Chuck Norris with Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's basically the same thing. One man army taking on an entire terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how often they did it. Every time, I love it.
Exactly.
I mean, there's certain parts in the movie where you know, I wish there was a little bit more Chuck Norris using his martial arts skills. But there were some few good scenes, like when he was went to the Cobra Lounge and he was interrogating the guy who went up with the lady of the night. And he stabs his hand and gives him the grenade, and he, you know, beats up the pimp in his muscle. I mean, that was good. I mean, he kicks that Jack dude in the chest and knocks him down like one kick. You're like, really?
Got there's some really creative death scenes, like especially I like the one with the hand grenade, and later one of my favorite scenes, of course, is how casually he took the bomb off the bus and delivered it back.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of great stuff in there. Like when they was about ready to blow up the church.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love that scene. He's like, didn't work, huh? Toss it down.
Yeah. that was so on point.
One of the scenes that got me too is when they grab the girl in the mall and he's driving around in that Nissan and he's holding her out the window. I'm like, dude, after about like 2 minutes, that chick's on the ground. I'm like, how is he holding her?
I'm sitting there every time I watch this movie. I'm like, why are you holding on to this chick, man? You trying to escape, and yet you holding on to her like you got her hostage. Come on, man. Dump that broad and keep it moving.
And also the guy didn't look so strong. And I know when it's raining here and I have an umbrella and I have a groceries in the same hand, it's like that shit weighs you down.
Before that, I like when he in the mall when he went to like put that bomb there, and the dude's like, "So you looking?"
He like chasing him down.
You're like, what?
Just imagine that shit blew up while he was holding it. Sir, boom. That should have totally happened in the movie.
That would have been awesome. Oh my god.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think that's one of my only criticisms of the movie. I think you could have gotten some more memorable henchmen.
Yeah. They were... I mean, his right-hand man was kind of unforgettable. I mean, I know he killed him outside the grocery store when he was dressed as a soldier, but he was supposedly the main the henchman's right hand. And other than that, it was just, that is a good point out of it. I mean, I know they're supposed to be, I think you should have the main bad in the hench, but like, I think maybe they were going for like it could be anyone. That's how like there were so many different people.
So
but I mean, you're right though, when it comes to that.
I mentioned Robert Zarr, the big chin, like he could have been a great henchman to face Chuck.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah,
and as always say, of course, you could have always taken as an Asian as an Asian communist Bolo Young.
Yep.
Could never go wrong with that.
Yeah. There was.
You could have had an awesome martial arts scene in there.
Yes. And I don't think Chuck. I wouldn't want to see Chuck just easily beat him. That's Bolo fucking Yin. Chuck bled once in the movie, and Chuck. When you watch Chuck movies, he barely bleeds or shit. So I like Bolo will get some offense on you.
Well, like in Lone Wolf, though, David Carradine put some work on him a little bit in Lone Wolf.
David Carradine though is another one that is more believable than just a regular henchman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I totally want to see a Vietnam movie where Chuck Norris is fighting Bolo Young.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The director of this movie also did Missing in Action. So he worked with Chuck Norris on another occasion, which was good. Yeah. The first Missing in Action, the good Missing in Action.
But they worked the last time since the director didn't want to cast Whoopi Goldberg as Dahlia McGuire, as the reporter in this movie. And Chuck Norris was not happy with that decision and cut off the director afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been interesting if Whoopi Goldberg was in this movie. Like the different dynamics she would have brought,
that would be early Whoopi Goldberg. That's like...
But this was during the time she did Color Purple.
Yeah, that was
after, and then before Jumping Jack Flash.
Yeah, Chuck Norris saw her in the Color Purple and said, I want to work with that actress.
Yeah, it would have been interesting.
That would have been a different dynamic for sure.
Oh, yeah, because the reporter seems a little bit forgettable in the movie.
I mean, I was trying to figure out when I was watching that, like, did she get this role like because she was with one of the producers, or you know what I mean? Like she was very forgettable, and she had a few scenes, but nothing that was like I remember in the beginning of the movie, she gets to the Coast Guard cutter before the FBI, and then he sees her at the mall, and then he sees her in front of the grocery store, and then he sees her at the end, and that's about it. You know, it's like
and when you have a movie that has memorable names with characters like Matt Hunter, Mikhail Rostov, John Eagle, and then you have the journalist Darlie McGuire, that the actress has a more memorable name, Melissa Prophet, which is just more kick-ass than the role she played, which should have been the other way around. You can see that they didn't give that role a lot of attention, or maybe they cut out a lot of her scenes since they cut out a lot of the story.
Maybe it would have been better had Andrea Barbeau played in it.
Yep.
Let's go. Adrian Barbeau would also have been kick-ass in this movie. But nevertheless, this I think is the poster child of VHS action movies.
Yes.
This is the movie you would see in syndication at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday or Sunday. You know what I mean? Like you said, syndication, VHS. Hey, you're at the store, grab a movie. You know, back when the grocery stores or convenience stores had a movie, and you see Chuck Norris on there with two Uzis, you're like, that's the flick.
Oh yeah,
that's it. And back then, those covers sold the movies. Like you go to VHS, man. So many great VHS covers, man. From the horror movies to the action movies and stuff. Like you just want to snatch a whole row of movies and take home and watch.
Those are really great days, and you know, it's still fun. You can get these movies now on Blu-ray in excellent condition, wonderfully remastered, and you know, it's still like this. Also, why we're doing this on Friday, not only because we have time on Friday, but also it's the proper way to start the weekend.
Yep.
Ever since I was a teenager, when it was Friday evening, I was putting on a movie, and I was like going in the videotheque, and I wanted to watch something that I had no idea what it was. Sometimes I just went by the cover, and rarely I was disappointed because I was just expecting to getting some really enjoyable action flick or horror flick or an exploitation flick. It really felt like maybe it's the nostalgia speaking out of me, but it felt like such an innocent time.
Yeah, I mean, I know in our household it was the same thing. Like Friday night, everyone, you know, dad's home from work, we're all done with school for the week. We would, it was Friday night. We would all sit down as a family, as a kid, and watch movies. You know, and when you got older, you would go to dinner, take a date to a movie. You know, whether that be Friday night usually or Saturday night, but it was the end of the week, and it was a good end of the week that you're like, hey, I'm going to unwind. I'm going to put something good on, you know, and there was nothing like it. Even you're making popcorn at home, you're sitting down with your family, and you're like, man, let's watch something we're all going to enjoy. Like you said, and usually it was in our household, it was either a horror flick or a slasher or an action movie. It's typically the stuff we would watch. And we watched a lot of Chuck Norris, man. We watched a lot of like, just really, really bad slasher movies like Puppet Masters and stuff like that. But it was great, man. I mean, it's like you said, innocence and family bonding time, and you know, it's like movies and food and family and friends all go together. It's like, you know, all things you enjoy, and you enjoy them with a group of people.
Exactly, and Canon had such a big impact on this culture.
Canon gets such a bad rap. But they put out some gold. They put out some bombs, but they put out gold. I mean, everything from Breakin' Boogaloo to He-Man to Missing in Action to American Ninja.
Ninja movies.
The Ninja movies, yes. You gotta do the Ninja trilogy.
It's really, you know, even the stinkers. They were, you know, like we already talked about Superman and the Quest for Peace. Yeah. Is this a shitty Superman movie? Fuck yeah, it's a shitty Superman movie, but it's not boring.
I mean,
and I wish they would have made a bloody Spider-Man movie.
Good. You know
Oh,
what?
yeah. Michael Dudikoff is Spider-Man. That's who's already cast. American Ninja. I would have bought it. I'd have been there. I'd have been there in line. Maybe when they do the new Spider-Man movie, he'll appear as like Spider-Man from Earth 123, the Dudikoff Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, like multiverse of madness. The Spider-Man comes from a world where the canon Spider-Man happened.
Canon is the biggest film producer.
One thing about the Superman for Quest for Peace, hey, what's up, Ninja? That movie was bad, but it got me emotional because of what happened to Superman in the middle of the flick when Nuclear Man beat him. You know, I shed tears, and that's how great Christopher Reeves was as Superman. You know, you were so invested in the character that you see him defeated like that, and you see the cape flying in the air, and no Superman. Man, as a kid, you start shedding little tears. You know.
It's like what's it called? The Atomic Man,
Nuclear Man.
Nuclear Man. Yeah, he really got some heel heat with that.
Most definitely.
Did you ever see when Henry Cavill put on Christopher Reeve's suit? You don't realize how big Christopher Reeve was, you know. But I mean, he was big, but he wasn't like cut up like Henry. But he was a big guy and he was strong. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, when I gotta find it. There's one floating around where he put on the suit that was his, and it was just hanging off. I was like, dang, Christopher Reeve was a pretty jacked dude for the day. You know what I mean?
I bloody missed Cannon. I bloody missed him.
I think I've said this before, but there was a documentary on Netflix where it was the true untold story or the true unknown story of Canon Films, and it charts their history and it shows all their movies up until when they closed down in the 90s. And oh my God, man, it was I forget it. And then the guys from Canon, Globus and he was another name. Golhem and Globus, I think, right?
Yeah, something like that.
They made another documentary that came out before the Netflix one to try to beat them to the punch. So, I mean, in true Canon fashion, they're like, we got to get something out first, and we're going to do it better. And I'm sure I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, because they ain't want that other documentary putting out something that could be a hit piece. We got to do our own.
Damage control.
That's like you said, typical Canon film.
Canon fashion, baby. We got to get it, and we're going to get out there first.
This is something I really miss nowadays. This variety of studios. It's slimmed down nowadays. It's everybody is following the same schemes. Everybody wants to do just their big money movies, and there's rarely a studio there that is just going with the flow but making it their own thing and doing stuff for the B-movie market. Of course, there's still like little studios like Asylum, but their movies, except of course for Sharknado, that shit is genius. Their movies don't have this charm that, especially back in the day, you had with Orion Pictures. You had
Lionsgate is the one for me. I love Lionsgate action movies.
Lionsgate, they do still good things. It's just, I think we talked about it in the past when we talked about Hard Target 2. Dan Atkins is a fantastic stuntman, martial artist, but he doesn't have the charisma for me to be a leading man. So this is where a lot of modern B movies suffer from. I think that Alan Masudi, who plays in, I think this is him, maybe I'm totally pronouncing it wrong. He's very sympathetic, and I really like the Kickboxer remake movies that both. And I think the third one is coming, and especially this first one is fantastic when he's fighting against Batista, and of course the second one is going up against the strongman from Iceland, Hafthor Bjornsson, which is also crazy. So we're still getting some, but back in the days, nowadays you have to look for them. Back in the days, Canon came to you.
like I said, canon holds a special place in my heart. I mean, for the nostalgia of the movies they put out. I mean, they put out, you know, like you said, your typical, you know, I want to call it like a dad movie. You know what I mean? Like I said, action, guns, good-looking women, everything gets wrapped up.
I would call it just like an honest escapist movie.
Yeah.
One thing about canon is that they touched on all different genres. You know, like one movie that the Breaking series, you know, finally remembered. You know, I look back then when breakdancing was popular in the hip hop community, and they said let's cash in on that and do a breaking movie, and that was successful. You know, and then we talked about Chuck Norris. You know, he signed the big deal to do canon films. Yeah, and one of my other favorites was Delta Force. You know, I loved the Delta Force.
Yeah.
The motorcycle with the missiles on it.
Yeah.
Don't forget another franchise with Bronson, Death Wish.
Yes.
Which they turned from a drama into like a true action vigilante porno.
Man, they went over the top with the second movie, man. I was like, God,
man,
that rated X version. I ain't never watched that one again.
But even like you said, what was the movie that Breakin' beat out in was it Beat Street? Beat Street was like the other movie that came out with Breakin' at the same time from a different studio.
I think
Beat Street was like a different breakdancing movie. I think it was called Beat Street. Anyone in the chat?
Yeah, it was Beat Street.
Yeah,
it was Beat Street. Because you had Beat Street, you had Wild Style, and Breakin'. Those are like the three big hip hop movies, along with Crush Groove.
It took me, of course, this is before the internet. It took me like 5 or 6 years to find a copy of Crush Groove on DVD, and I found it like in some random store. But that was such one of those movies like they came on at 2 in the morning and you watched it in like because there's no internet, so you can't research it. And you're like, was that real? Was that in my head? Like Run DMC was in this movie and the Beastie Boys and LL Cool J. I'm like, it has to be real. And then for years, like I searched it down, and I remember when I found a copy about passed out. I think I paid like $30 for it too. And I was like, I had to have it. Like 2001, you know, before search engines were like a big thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's really tough to get some DVDs.
Yeah. Another one was
but it's way easier to do these with a lot of movies, especially like with Invasion USA. It's available on Blu-ray, and we already mentioned it before you came on stream. They totally butchered the German release back in the day. They changed the story because of the Cold War tensions were so high between East and Western Germany. So Richard Lynch's character is not a Soviet infiltrator, but it's like an American conflict. So they changed the whole thing, and finally later when the movie came out on DVD and I was able to finally watch it in English, I was watching it and was like, this is another movie, I don't remember it like this.
It's amazing how they change certain things in terms of the language to make it so different from the English version.
I really wish, even though, this movie is 107 minutes long, which is still an okay running time for an action movie. I always say, like, with action movies, they're like 90 minutes is basically the ideal length.
Get in and get out.
Action movie. But I would really like to see a director's cut of Invasion USA with all the scenes from the backstories of the several characters that cut out.
I would definitely like to see more between Hunter and what's his name from that original flashback scene.
The Rostov.
When he defeated him there, I would like to see more of that. Because remember, he told the guy, when the CIA guy, when he came to recruit Hunter to stop him, he like, you should have never stopped me from killing him in the first place. And I'm like, the flashback scene shows like he kicked him and knocked him out. But I'm like, I thought he was going to kill him and somebody's going to stop him when I first saw it. So it's kind of like there's more to the story there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the cutscenes directly went into the garbage bin at Canon because they never thought that things like director cuts would be a thing on DVD or Blu-ray in the future. And it's really a pity because, For me, it is like the most famous canon action movie. And of course, because we're discussing it today, it's a holiday classic.
It's what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. A movie that's a Christmas movie that's not a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Hey.
And it really needs to go out there and be on the list of action movies to watch during the holiday season, along with Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2. Of course, next week we're gonna talk about Cobra, and there's still more. Maybe we can touch on in the future around December here on the show. So it's really cool if you can bring out movies out there for people to watch during holiday season that are not so much on the list. And this movie really celebrates the Christmas season. You know, you get all the jingles, you have all the decoration going up, and it also has like the plot point, as Sean mentioned earlier, that it's not a coincidence that they're attacking during Christmas, because this is the time when American society is the weakest and the most attackable in their belief of freedom, in the belief of free movement around everywhere. So it really is a vital plot point, and which also makes it even more a Christmas movie, because it also shows, of course, later on, like the strength of people like coming together and not showing fear, and despite the curfew, still going out to take part, and like their Christmas spray and stuff. And of course, the prayers were heard because Chuck Norris was sent to bring back the bomb to the sender.
And the funny thing is, Kostov used that as a way to, destroy Christmas, when he was blowing up them homes. Like,
yeah,
it's such a diabolical scene.
Yes.
You got families there just, celebrating Christmas, putting up the tree, and you see the little girl put the star on there before she run the house, and then he just completely wrecks that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in a way, it's like that's what a terrorist would do. They will wreck your holiday to prove a point.
I think this scene has, like you said, it has a real impact because it makes it so relatable. It's like this is literally like pissing off so many people, like because a lot of people in Western culture can relate, like, despite if you're religious or not. But like to come around this time, the time is coming around, and you are meeting your family. You're visiting your family. It's just a peaceful time. You're forgetting all the shit all the year happened, and just celebrate like a wholesome Christmas. And then rockets are flying.
Hey, but what would have been funny? What if Rostov would have tried to blow up the Griswold's Christmas house?
I want to see him blow up that green station wagon from the first movie.
If we were taken out by the sewer gas, that's because the shit was full.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun crossover. Oh shit!
That's a crossover potential that I haven't noticed before.
Crossover action comedy, man. Chuck Norris teaming up with the Griswold. The comedy writes itself, man.
I mean, Chuck Norris and Chevy Chase are still around, so we only need another villain.
Eddie is secretly a sleeper agent.
Oh my god!
With that plate in his head.
Yeah, Eddie turns against the government because he's not getting any checks anymore from the government.
Yeah, he joins a terrorist group. I can see him running off the boat in the white shoes he gives Clark in the first movie.
That's not too far off from Randy Quaid himself.
Yeah, he's a nut now.
That is possible.
You mean it's not a movie script that just gonna turn on the camera? Randy Quaid.
Yep.
No, they wouldn't. Oh man.
That's great.
Oh, of characters though, of fictional characters, if you say Eddie, everyone knows what you're talking about Eddie from National Lampoons.
And like we said last week, everybody knows an Eddie, and if you don't have an Eddie in your family, it's most likely you're Eddie.
We have Eddies in our family, where if you go to this small town where we have some family in Wisconsin, you don't admit you're related to those people. I won't say their name on here, but those are the type of people you don't want to say, yeah, those are my relation. You're like, nah, I don't know that.
Yeah, the only Eddie I knew and family passed away in the late 90s, so my dad's brother.
Yeah, I think I have a shitload of Eddies in the mother's side of my family. I hope you know what is watching.
That's why I didn't want to name drop.
I don't trust people from Wisconsin.
Yeah, man.
Especially when they eat pizza, collect comics, and are probably most
video games, comics, baseball cards, football cards. Live in Florida now. Still claim the Packers and Badgers and Bucks and Brewers. Yeah, where are you from, Magic Lasso? Are you from Illinois? If you don't trust people from Wisconsin.
Eddie spaghetti.
I'll tell you a good Christmas movie I just watched. It's on HBO Max. Is 8-Bit Christmas, if you've seen that.
I never heard of that one.
So it was released on Thanksgiving last week, and it's a flashback of 80s about a kid wanting a Nintendo for Christmas in like 87 or 88. And anyway, good flick to watch. A lot of nostalgia aspect to it. So Neil Patrick Harris is in it. So good flick. Good flick if you want to.
I got my first Nintendo in 86. No, 88.
I don't remember the year, but I think it was Christmas.
Yeah, I got mine for Christmas like 87 or 88. And like I said, that's why it was like kind of like at the Mars. It's on HBO Max.
And also Neil Patrick Harris was born as Neil Patrick Harris in a very Harold and Kumar.
Yes.
Yes. I never would have thought Dookie Howser would grow up to impress me as much as he did. You know?
Yeah.
Still, all I have to say, Starship fucking Troopers.
Yep.
Starship
Rico's Roughnecks, baby.
Roughnecks.
Loved the movie.
Hell, he was awesome in Undercover Brother, man.
He was an Undercover Brother. He's had some pretty epic roles. I mean, not as a main character, but as a good supporting character. He's going to be in the new Matrix movie. I don't know if you've seen the trailers for that.
No, yeah, I was never a Matrix fan.
I saw the trailer and I thought it was going to be called John Wick the Matrix because that Keanu Reeves just too. He don't want to cut the hair and shit. Now he's just John Wick and everything.
Yep.
But yeah, since Invasion U.S.A. Takes place in Florida, how is it like when you watch what's the name, Floridians or Florida Man? When you watch
Florida Man, yep.
Yeah. But as Floridians, you watch it is like, how is it? Is this basically? Can you totally relate to it? Is it maybe even in Florida holiday classic already?
It should be. I think that it's something that we should all watch in grade school growing up, being in Florida. But no, it definitely. I mean, it touches on the aspect of you got the people in like the Everglades, which is close to Miami, riding the airboats, catching gators. I mean, that's in your head. That's what you think of. But again, like the cocaine cowboys down in South Florida. You have like a big Cuban population. I mean, all those things they touched on were big in the 80s. You had people coming over from Cuba, escaping Cuba, on the rafts. You had drugs, which was big down there, and you had like the fear of Cold War. So I mean, all those things we could relate to. I mean, at least from the movie growing up.
Actually, this is a movie you can totally remake today.
You could.
Yeah, but only and you don't even have to go that far. You just have people invading from California, Seattle, Portland.
Yeah.
when you said remake, I was like, oh, I don't know. Then you said invaded from California, so I was like, all right, an American state invasion. I was like, that could be something different.
Yeah, Texas can sing a song about it.
Good Lord, Texas, man. I hate on Texas because of the Dallas Cowboys, man. I can't stand that team. So I will invade them just to blow up Cowboy Stadium or whatnot, man. Jerry's World. I'll blow that stadium up with a bazooka. Matter of fact, we gotta talk about that final battle, man. Epic.
Oh yeah.
Epic. First of all, I love how, you know, because of this invasion, the American get all their troops and all that stuff, the tanks and stuff. And at first, I liked that those guys just driving through the area, busting up everything. The setup to the ending was perfect because I like how Chuck Norris, Matt Hunter, uses the police to set them up because he tells that message to the reporter, and that set what's his name off. Like he like, fuck whatever else we gotta do. We going straight there to get Matt Hunter. I need to kill this bastard. A perfect way to antagonize the villain to get him to come after him.
And they really used the budget on that one with the tanks coming up and the really fantastic battle.
I mean, you got World War III in fucking Miami, man, right there in the center of the city, man. It's crazy. Like you said, that was like the last bit of money. Like, we gonna go all out on this final battle.
12 million. We're at 9. Let's make it happen.
And I actually love that, you know, you have all this big battle going out on the outside, and Matt Hunter, Chuck Norris wreaking havoc on the inside, and as a one-man army, as the only good guy in the building. And the chances are way higher to survive the battle against the armies. There's a lot of people surrendered in the end than to survive while being in the building with Matt Hunter.
I love how he set them up. After they walked in the building, the guy operating the helicopter gets in there like, all right, I'll just chill and wait. Man, Matt Hunter popped up. He's like, oh shit! He tried to get whatever he can to get the hell out of there. And Matt just blows up their helicopter. I was like, oh man, they screwed now.
Yeah, it's really an epic battle, and I think this is also a big part why this movie is so popular in the action movie scene, since you get this big payoff in the end, and it's just the movie. Man, 12 million is a good budget, but I think like with the ending, epic ending scene. This feels like a big action movie.
Yeah, it really, like, they utilized the budget well throughout the movie, but this was like their big set piece, and they wanted to go all out with it, with the tanks and everybody shooting up the place, you know, and then Chuck Norris causing damage inside, like the scene where he about to go through the door, and you got the two guys on the sides.
Yeah,
he feels it, he can hear the tension. So he just blows a hole right through it. And the holes are so fucking big. I'm like, what kind of gun is that to make those giant circle holes? Like, only
Chuck Norris like a 9mm, but it's using like shotgun like slugs like through the wall. You're like, what is that?
It's like the bullets are getting extra motivation because they are fired by Chuck Norris.
Oh man, this movie is awesome, man.
It is, and it's a holiday classic, and whoever watches this on the rewind, make Invasion USA a part of your Christmas season. It belongs there.
You know, I posted the scene with him driving through the mall. That's like that's how Chuck Norris does his Christmas shopping. You know, he goes through the mall, picks out who the villains are, and just slaughters them. That's his Christmas presents. Anybody who's shooting back at him, you dying. Classic, man.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out Chuck Norris' Instagram page, since he's selling a Christmas sweater now, which is bloody epic.
Chuck Norris,
and this is we're not sponsored by Chuck Norris, but I'm afraid if we won't, if we won't tell people about his Christmas sweater, he's gonna come here and roundhouse kick our sorry asses.
Is he still promoting that? What was that thing? That home gym he was doing for a minute? Oh God. Yeah, that home gym he was on, like all the infomercials for a minute.
Oh, I don't know, but I really want some of these action jeans.
Oh yes, I've seen that ad where he's doing the karate kick in the air and he's wearing those tight, whatever those are.
Because I think very limited, out there with regular trousers and shit. It's like you can't really kick people that high up. And
well, to do it in cowboy boots and keep your footing.
Welcome, man. Chuck Norris is that dude, man. Like, one movie that I ain't seen in a long time, but I remember watching a lot when I was a kid was fucking, what was it, Sidekick? When he fought Joe Piscopo.
Yep. Joe Piscopo. All the different characters he came up with. Like, whenever that kid had something in his head, Joe Piscopo was the bad guy. He was Viet Cong. He was a mafia guy. He was whatever.
I think that movie was on German cable television every week.
What was the German name?
I forgot. I have to check.
Oh, I thought it'd be something like Epic.
So,
and those, those. I think those other Chuck. There must be Chuck Norris comics, and they're must be totally underrated.
The Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. It was like a 5-issue series. Yeah,
based on the cartoon too, man.
Yeah, that was toy line, cartoon.
I mean, fucking everybody got cartoons back in the 80s. Mr.
Rambo.
T, Rambo.
There's also Mr. T comics out there, which are kick-ass.
Yep. Mr. T and the T-Force. Neil Adams did the art for those, yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy. See, that's what I say. Back in the 80s, like, they turned anything into a property, man. Like,
the problem is, in the late, was it the mid to late 90s or early 90s? They had that crackdown with the government with toy or cartoons promoting stuff as like a essentially a 24-minute commercial. So you saw a lot of those shows that were all like it was a toy or a series based to sell toys just go away. And now it's unfortunate that I remember waking up on every Saturday morning, even Sunday morning for the most part, and watching cartoons. And then that went away. I think the last station to show cartoons was WB on Saturday mornings, and they did that. They got rid of that in like 2014 or 15.
Yeah, I think there was a change here. I totally forgot the year, but every year there were less cartoons and more animes. Until it was like basically only animes.
At least you got anime. We got fucking news.
Yeah.
They got rid of our cartoons and gave us news reports. What the fuck? I want to get up and watch some damn news.
Well, part of that bill that passed was they had to, for every hour or 30 minutes of cartoons, they had to show so much time of educational. So, of course, they're like, there's only I used to watch Mutual Omaha, United Kingdom, like the next guy. But, man, there's only so much stuff you want to learn about flying squirrels and stuff on Saturday morning when you're eating your cereal.
John, you know what was my educational show watching on Saturday mornings? Bill fucking Nye.
Bill Nye? Dude, I remember watching Mr. Wizard, though. Mr. Wizard, that was the show back in the day.
I think I can remember it like clear as day when I was 13 or 14, and I just was ready to watch some cartoons, and suddenly it's like, where are our cartoons? And what is this thing? Sailor Moon? Yeah, I can work with that.
Oh, shit.
My friends used to talk about, you see what Sailor Moon went nude when she transformed? I'm like, what? I ain't seen it.
I see a silhouette.
I recorded it on VHS and used it to masturbate.
And Sailor Moon was fun to watch, man. Like,
yeah, and the story was fantastic. Like with the Queen Millennia, like the ending and everything was so fucking epic. Like Sailor Moon is seriously underrated.
I ain't seen it in a long time, but I used to watch it when it came on weekday mornings.
Yeah, they were showing on Cartoon Network
for a while. But also like the story was fantastic. And the Sailor Moon role-play game on the Super Nintendo was awesome too.
I don't know if that came out in the States. It might have. I'm not sure.
I think I played it. I think I played it on a ROM because there was only the Japanese version, but there were subtitles. I think somebody made German subtitles for the ROM, and the game was awesome.
Yeah, but I remember when the first channel that was affected by and it didn't affect. I remember that song. I love that song.
Yeah, Super Friends Moving Early was not good, Magic Lasso.
Yeah, but I remember before the whole thing with the government, trying to put the clamp down on Saturday mornings, the first channel to fall was NBC in the early 90s. And I used to love NBC because Chipmunks was on. Alvin and the Chipmunks was on there. And when we lost that channel, that was like a big blow to me because it was like, damn, no more Chipmunks.
Well, do you remember, though, like in the, let's say, late 80s, early 90s, when the new fall lineup would come out on for cartoons, it was either NBC or ABC. They would show it on Friday night, so they would get a showcase. The previews.
Yeah.
Yep. And they would show them again on Saturday morning because that's how big it was. I mean, I remember watching Captain and the Game Master, and I was like, "This show was the shit." And I'm like, I couldn't wait to watch it every week. I mean, it was like a cartoon about Nintendo. I'm like, I'm sold. I'm done.
Yeah, it was Captain N and the Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
There used to be an hour show on that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I remember those specials because they kept that going in the 90s with ABC, and they had their TV shows like Perfect Strangers and Family Matters promoted. Man, that used to get us hyped, like you said, for Saturday mornings on the new seasons. God,
that was like the highlight of the year.
Yeah. But Freaky Louie Walker Texas Rangers was so big here. I think it ran every Monday, prime time on a German cable network. And when I was in business school as a teenager back then, the next day we all talked about Walker Texas Rangers. And now when you look at the casting, I think there's also like a lot of from action stars having some cameo roles in there.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho Man and Hulk Hogan and Sting and all those guys.
Yeah.
He basically fought the entire WCW roster.
Like, hey, we need some cross branding. Get Macho Man and Hogan up in there. Sting.
And it's funny. I think that show was on U.S.A. Network, and U.S.A. played WWF.
Well, I still can't believe they relaunched Walker on WB again. It's another show, and it's got the guy from Supernatural in it as Walker. I haven't watched it just because I can't. I mean, how do you replace Chuck Norris? I mean, I haven't. I mean, who knows?
You can't. Unless Chuck Norris is playing his father in there, he's like Walker Jr., then I can see it, but I ain't see Chuck Norris in it yet. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that was like basically the German action TV. You had Walker Texas Rangers, and then next day I think you had Lorenzo Lamas as Renegade.
Renegade, yeah.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Lamas.
Oh man, those were the days, though, man.
Yeah.
Snap to a Slim Jim, baby. Those were the days, though. When we had good cartoons, good TV, just good anything you could just watch.
Yeah.
I still watch MacGyver. The old school MacGyver show, man.
It's also a classic, yeah. It was really like a time when you came home from school, you had cartoons, and later you had some sitcoms, and then you had some action series.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, it was in the 90s, basically coming home. Then it was like Pokemon, and then it was Tiny Toons, and then from Tiny Toons you went immediately to Married with Children, and then you had the action.
Well, between cartoons and sitcoms, I had strict homework duties between 5 and 7, so I had to make sure I get my homework done before I could turn TV on again.
I just like you said that.
I did the homework in the morning, or we just like in school before we started.
What'd you get for number 3?
There was a time, first we started, copying each other's homework, and then we saw that the teacher didn't take the homework, so we just like had to verbally confirm. We were so lazy, we just went to the copier and copied the homework. Then there was one day we came to school and we want to copy the homework, but nobody did the homework. So we made straws, and like who had the shortest straw had to quickly do the homework so everybody else could copy.
You lazy bastards, man. Y'all too busy watching y'all cartoons and TV shows, and then y'all come to school like, oh, we gotta do homework.
All I can say, I have a master's degree, so it couldn't be that wrong what I did back then.
It's funny, like I noticed because I have an MBA that when you're in high school, you're kind of like, my undergrad, I was like, this kind of, I don't say screwing off, but then like when you go for you're like, I'm paying big money to get this other degree. Like you work really hard. But like you said, it's like you go from not like, to like, this doesn't matter to like, you finally are like, I need to learn something for my job. Like I need
or something that interests me, that is fun, which is actually something like up my alley. But like in like back in the day in school, it was just so boring.
Yeah. I hated math, and now I do math all day. So I
don't you just wanted to go home and watch bloody cartoons, play on your PlayStation or on Super Nintendo.
Yep. Sometimes I invite friends over and we have a blast.
Yes, and we all know if you settle things, you either settle them in Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, or Mario Kart.
Or in my case, we had Sega Genesis version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game.
Oh, the fighting game, yeah.
The fighting game.
Still one of the best basketball games ever, NBA Champ.
Oh, man. I remember when that came out in arcades. People were waiting to get on there to play. And if you lose a game, you out. You got to go way to the back. But you have to stay undefeated just to stay there.
We didn't have arcades here, so luckily we only had like on the consoles at home.
When I lived in the fraternity house, we had the Nintendo Olympics, and it consisted of 4 games. You had Tecmo Bowl, not Super, but regular Tecmo Bowl. You had Double Dribble, Ice Hockey, and RBI Baseball. And it was like people fighting because like, you can't take the Raiders because of Bo Jackson, and you can't do this because of that, But that was like, some of the most fun I ever had in my life, man. But those 4 games, if you like how you placed, is how you like decided who the Olympic champion was for Nintendo. And man, many a fist fight broke out over that. That and James Bond GoldenEye, because that came out when I was in college. Because people were getting thrown through tables in the house I lived in because it's just like, stop looking at my screen. Because they're cheating. Or shooting through walls with a rocket launcher and it seeps through with the glitch. Many a coffee table were broken in the fraternity house I lived in because of that.
Oh my God. I remember when we played pen and paper roleplay games. The Dark Eye, which is das schwarze Auge, I think it once came out at the Dark Eye or Realms of Arcania outside of the German countries. And I remember one time when a fight brought out, and like when we basically was a revolt against the dungeon master, and also somebody flew through a glass table. That was when the adults meant that probably like games like D&D are dangerous for the youth because things escalate quickly.
Oh yeah,
people will fight because of the fighting games like Street Fighter, and some of the characters that have those cheesy moves that they could just spam you with all the damn time. And Guile was a character people were notorious with because they do Sonic Boom and Sonic and all that. Man, this dude kept complaining like, you're using the same move, man. You're doing the same move. And then every time he kept losing, man, then you start fighting. And then next they threw us all out the store, man. They're like, it's just these two fighting. Like, nah, all y'all got to go. Y'all was part of it, y'all got to go. I was like,
I fucking hated fighting Dalsin.
Oh man.
Like yoga fire, stretching. It's like
fucking Sagat pissed me off. I could not stand people use Sagat.
Bison. When people would use Bison and they could do all the cheap moves with Bison, and you could combo it before like people, before they would give you the combo moves, but you could combo Bison. And if someone knew what they were doing, man, they would just like just cheap you out of everything, you know.
Hey, Tekken. All you gotta do in Tekken, I get martial law to piss motherfuckers off with that flip kick.
Yeah. John, for you, it's one of the most memorable defeats in Street Fighter. For Bison, it was just Tuesday.
I hate Bison to this day because there's a buddy of mine. We'd go to his house, and it's like when Street Fighter Tournament Edition just came out, and he would do the same cheap ass moves every fucking time, and it just got so old. I'm like, I don't even want to play Street Fighter anymore. I'm like, let's play Mortal Kombat. I'm like, let's do something else. I'm like,
yeah, I always played Vega because of the claw.
I was a Ken. I used Ken a lot. That was my guy. I used Ken. I used Blanca.
Yeah, and DJ was also cool. We liked the DJ's moves.
I like to use them Blanca, Zangief, and E Honda. I don't know. It was the big guys that were slow, but always had those great, powerful attacks.
Yep.
Yeah, E Honda, like once you got into the like a frenzy, like you could really mess people up.
Yeah. And Chung Li was another one that I like using. I hated when people use Chung Li against me. So I was like, man, I better start learning Chung Li because she got some awesome moves, and I want to fuck people up with Chung Li.
Yeah, like nowadays, like with Kami and Chun Li, it's like, yeah, I want to join the fight even though I have no chance.
But yeah, those days of video games and arcades were so much fun, regardless of such situations like fighting and stuff like that. It was just an era, like to me, the 90s was the last great era of the arcades before it started declining more. But I hate that today's gaming landscape, they want to force you to more to online games, and they completely eradicated the co-op, local co-op.
Yeah,
you know, I don't like that. They want you to play with people and your friends online. But what if I have friends come over? You know, what if I got family? You know, like
what the last bastion of hope, the last franchise that truly embraces co-op is?
What's that?
All the Lego games, they have incredible co-op.
Yeah. The Lego games is one that my cousins used to play a lot, so I will play with them, you know, when it comes to the Lego games. And it was fun. Like, we always had a blast, you know, whenever they came over and they brought their Lego game. Because I'm like, hey, you bringing the Lego game? Bringing the Lego game?
Yeah.
It's fun to, you know, to play with my younger cousins on some of those games. And that's why local co-op, to me, is still needed.
I can see, like, I still play Golden Axe. And,
Golden Axe is classic.
Golden Axe is one of my favorite games ever. And it's so much more fun co-op. Of course, Streets of Rage is... I love Streets of Rage. Co-op is... It's just one of the best things that that console gaming brought to you. And I know every time you're playing a game and you felt like it should be co-op and it was not co-op, you felt cheated.
Yes. Yes.
What got me was I love Double Dragon, but when they ported it to Nintendo, it was a single-player game, and that to me killed it. I mean, Double Dragon 2 and 3 were co-op, but I mean, to play that game with someone, but on Sega Master System, it was a co-op, and it was fairly close to the arcade version. But I mean, like you said, co-op games, there's nothing like having your buddy come over and you're like, hey man, let's beat a game, or let's play this, or let's play RBI baseball, or whatever. And that was fun. And you're right, Sean. I mean, that not being around anymore stinks. I mean, I know like my niece and nephew, they have I have a Switch, but they have the individual Switch, you know, the portable one or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you want to play, it's like, well, you got to get your Switch out, and then you got to sit in opposite corners of the room, or one's on the TV and one's on their Switch. It's not the same.
Yeah. It's not the same.
And like I said, modern games. The last modern game that I bought was Conan Exiles when it came out, because it's a Conan game. But Steam sale, I bought the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. I'm playing Neverwinter Nights again. Like, these games are just better, like single-player, campaign, or co-op games. I absolutely hate playing online.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, you might have some fun experience online, but most of the time you're playing with a bunch of jerks, or you're playing with kids who wants to be jerks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you're not in my friend circle, that's why when I played Ghostbusters, the video game online, and I had a good rapport with a couple of guys, I made sure they was in my friend circle, because you might play with people that do dumb shit, or they have their mics on and I don't know who they are and they just talking random shit. And I'm like, you guys ain't even fucking doing the objective. You're just talking shit. And I'm like, come on, man. Like sometimes I don't really like playing online as much, you know.
Yeah, it was a better time, I think, in the beginning. I remember when Lord of the Rings Online came out, and we were like on a roleplay server, and we really were involved in the shit, or with Guild Wars when it came out, and you had also the possibilities to just play with your guild and really enact role playing. That was interesting, but it really felt that later on that people just want to be power gamers and didn't even value the story of everything, and it just became like a place that was not pleasant. Yeah, it's like, because when I want to fuck somebody's mother, I'm going on another side. It's like I'm not going into video game.
I'll never forget the first time I played Call of Duty. I didn't have a next gen console. This is years ago, and you got some like 12-year-old, like you said, talking shit, and you're like, dude, you're like 12 years old and you're living at your parents' house, and I'm playing Call of Duty, and you're running your mouth. I'm like, no, man, I'm good.
Yeah, you don't want to hear these young buckaroos talking shit. Then it makes you mad to just want to just wipe them out in the game. Like every time I see that name, dead. I'm hunting for you, and it disrupts your whole plan of the mission. Yeah, man. The cooperative games, local cooperative games, were fun when you play with friends and family, but online is definitely like not something that I always want to do.
Well, even like the party games, like when you'd have like the Mario Party, or like, did you guys ever play Conker's Bad Fur Day, and they had all those mini games in it? Like that to me was just amazing. Like playing Conker's Bad Fur Day, they had like a game where you would it was a 4-player versus like you had to steal a bag of money, but once that person had the bag of money, they were it. So everyone would go after that person. They would try to deposit the money, their vault, before they got attacked, and they had just fun little co-op games on it where it was just like, man, this is great, but it would split the screen in 4 and like GoldenEye style, and you would just have a blast. You have 4 people over.
Talking about having a blast, it's like playing Bomberman with 4 players.
Oh yeah.
This is war. I remember like you're getting PTSD from that shit.
So much fun. So much fun, man. Like I said, I just think back of those days of, friends coming over and us playing Power Rangers and us taking turns. Like, remember we had to take turns on the original Mario games? Like, there was no such thing as 1 2 play. Not. I play as Mario, and then when I die, he takes over as Luigi. You gotta wait it out, and that was fun because you get to see how he beats the level, and all right, now I can do it. But then if you keep dying, then he'll make fun of you and stuff like that. It's like a competitive nature within the game, playing 2 different characters.
That's always when you have to choose characters. I know it when playing Golden Axe in the past on the Mega Drive, and you had this huge discussion: who is to play the barbarian and who is to play the chick or the dwarf.
Yeah, back in the day, you remember no one wanted to be the chick. And now it's like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I'll be the chick.
Hey, I played as Blaze in Streets of Rage. I didn't mind, choosing her. Like, they always try to make the chick out to be the weakest, but sometimes she has a great moveset, and if you master it, you become great at it.
And of course, if you make the right moves, and you can see some nice animation.
I knew he was going there, man.
Yeah.
I knew he was going there. They made Blaze hotter than later on in the games.
And also back then, I remember when I played Streets of Rage with my cousin, and we played it at his father's house, and then his wife came on and saw us playing, and like all the dominos with the whips were coming out, and it's like what the fuck are you playing?
And like how How they joined up with this evil game?
Well, it's like one of my favorite beat 'em ups was Final Fight. Oh my god, I love Final Fight. And like, what's that one? The girl in Final Fight. Oh gosh,
I just remember Hagar.
I would always pick Hagar because he was ex-wrestler and he would like pile drive guys and like throw them in the air. But yeah, man, that game was like one of the ones where I would just like, if it was at the arcade, man, I was dropping $5 in that thing. Like it was on. When they ported that to Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
I always liked it that one of the villains was modeled after Andre the Giant, man.
Yes.
So every time he came on the scene, I'm like, oh look, it's Andre.
Yeah. Well, they had him, and then they had Slash and Axel because the guy who was a programmer loved Guns N' Roses. So that's why the one other big guy was Slash, and the other one was Axel, because Axel Rose and Slash. But
yeah, those were the days, or back in the day with Sega, with the Return of Shinobi, in the original version, Spider-Man and Batman.
Man, you talk about tough ass game with those Shinobi games. God.
Let's just say I am very happy then when you can play it nowadays on the Sega collection that you have the rewind button.
Man, you talk about a frustrating game. Especially the first Shinobi. I played that on the Master System. You know, the Sega Master System. My aunt had that. Man, that was a game. I get up to that boss that was throwing like different projectiles at you and it looked kind of like Shredder.
Yep.
I was like, fuck, man, this motherfucker just kicking my ass.
I think something what we have to talk about when in the future we're gonna talk one of the Terminator movies. Is like especially like the Sega Terminator games were awesome, and especially the crossover Terminator versus
RoboCop. Yep.
I fucking
T2 the arcade game though, man. T2 the arcade game with the guns, man. I must have spent hundreds of dollars on that thing back in the day.
Oh man, they still got that at my movie theater. That T2 the arcade game.
Really? What movie theater?
Regal.
That game, man. I used to. Oof. I remember I went to a Dave and Buster's in Texas when I was visiting my uncle, and I think he got us like $10 worth of tokens. I spent them all on that game, like $10 in that game in one spot. I was like, whoa! It like blew my mind. Like,
I think about like an Invasion USA arcade game when you can shoot commies on the beaches or like in the empty police station, drive the car and handing out bombs.
It's almost like Bayou Billy. If you ever played Bayou Billy on NES, like you're in the swamp, kind of like on there, and then you're driving his Bronco or whatever it was, Jeep.
Bronco Billy.
Actually, talking about a fantastic co-op game. Has anybody of you guys played Broforce?
I have. What system was that for? I don't think I heard.
Oh, that's for the PC.
Oh no.
It's basically a homage to all the 80s action, and you could play like if they renamed the characters, you can play basically like John Matrix, but it's of course the culture Matrix is called Bromando, so everything has this bro play with it, and because like Rambo, what called him also like Brombo, like something again.
Rambro. It has to be Rambro.
Rambro, and of course Chuck Norris is also there, and Time Cop. I think it's Bro Cop. It's a game that I really recommend. It should be when it's in a Steam sale very cheap, and it's really a funny campaign because you're fighting communists, you're fighting aliens. Like you're fighting every cliche villains from the 80s, and it's a fantastic game. Absolutely love it.
I see the cover and automatically know Rambo right there in the center.
Yeah,
Rambo.
Broforce.
Oh man!
So I highly recommend that one, and it has fantastic co-op play.
Nice. Broforce.
So if anybody want to get it, we can totally play.
Like I said, I rarely play video games nowadays, but man, I would love to try and jump back in it, man. just to see if I still have it, because like the last game I played, I think was the last God of War game, the one that came out for PS4. I loved it, but I haven't played much since.
Yeah, I am so relieved that I don't have to check if I still got it because I never had it. I'm one of these guys that plays that plays games so easy for the story.
I've been playing. Last Christmas, my wife got me a Switch, and it has the virtual console where it has all the retro games on it. And so, of course, I have new games, but I always go back to the classics. I'm like, I'm going to play Legend of Zelda, or I'm going to play Super Metroid or whatever. And I keep on. I hate or Doom. Like I bought Quake for the virtual console.
I remember when Quake, Doom, and Wolfenstein was like the big thing back in school, where we go to our PC class and we just while teachers teaching, we just in there playing Doom and shit, or Wolfenstein. Like that's all we wanted to do was play those games, because that's the only time we had the access to the PC that had those games locked on there. Man, those are days, man. I remember I made it up to the last level of Doom. And this is like a whole semester of school. Made it to the last level of Doom. And I get to the last part, I open up the door, and the next thing you know, I'm getting attacked. That's how the game ends. You get blitzed up. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is how the game ends? I was pissed off. I'm like, nah, I can't die like this.
Those were the moments when you're going through and shooting the demons left and right, and you were like, let's go kick some ass and open the door, and there was like a giant demon. You were like, nope.
I was like, no. I worked so hard in this game, and I get to the last level, and this is how it ends. Oh man, that's so much fun.
And I remember a lot of games introduced me to franchises that I now absolutely love. I remember when I got my first PC, we were opening Dune 2, and the real-time strategy game. And this totally introduced me to Frank Herbert's Dune. So later, of course, I watched the '84 movie, and I read the novels. So it's like this is where the video game totally introduced me to the franchise.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you get introduced, whether it's video games or comics or stuff like that introduce you to a bigger franchise that you didn't think was that big.
That's the power of cross promotion, used to its perfection back in the days. Nowadays, with the cross promotions, it's like, do you even want to know? The other thing is like when the Masters of the Universe Revelation, before it came on Netflix, they did the comic in Dark Horse. Issue 1 had such ugly art, and the story was so horrible. So it's like, I don't even want to watch the shit on Netflix. And then when Kevin Smith, of course, lied, I was like, why should I even bother watching it? And I don't think I missed anything.
It was all right. I watched it just for pure nostalgia purposes. Again, it felt like less of a He-Man arc. Sean, did you watch it?
I watched the first season. I ain't watched the second.
I haven't watched the second season yet, but it just felt like more of a Terra story. You know what I mean? Like, it was good. I mean, you get to see all the old characters you grew up with, and
I just rewatched the original.
I mean, I love Skeletor. Like, for me, Skeletor as a villain is just perfect. Like, he's got some good lines. He does some crazy shit. He says some evil stuff, and to me, that's like a perfect villain. Like, you got.
I'm a Hordak guy. I was always as a kid. Yeah. Hordak was my favorite character.
I always I
always wanted Hordak to win when I was a kid. Maybe it's because I'm German and I just naturally root for the villain.
Well, villains always had cooler stuff. Like, you look at Star Wars, the villains had cool stuff. Yeah, Joe, Cobra had the really cool stuff.
That's all. Like, I was totally Cobra. I was a Cobra guy.
I like Cobra too.
I love Cobra.
They had Storm Shadow, Cobra Commander, Destro. All those guys were cool. You know what I mean? Like, the Joes were cool too. But man, you look at you're like, oh, Storm Shadow, that guy's the man. You know what I mean? Like, Come on.
Yeah, but it's also, of course, when you're European, it's like you're watching it and you don't really identify with the shows because they're American. So it's like Cobra has a point.
There's like a meme floating around there. It's like, the older I get, the more and more Cobra seems like a good deal because they had like a workout facility and benefits and like all these things.
Like Cobra had their own city.
Magic Lasso, for somebody who has magic in its name, you should have come up with the solution itself.
Well, at least in the newer He-Mans, like Prince Adam is not as big as He-Man, but in the original, yes. I mean, Prince Adam and He-Man, some confuse kids, but he's a little lighter, and then he gets a little tanner when he's He-Man, but come on.
Yeah, the early 2000 version is totally underrated.
It is.
Yes, I was going to say that. That came out when I was in college, and I remember staying up and watching that. Was it on Toonami? They were showing that like late night. That was a great series. I mean, the art was cool. The toy line that came out was really cool with it.
The comics were also good. I remember reading the comics. Yeah, they're also coming out on in German at you can buy it at the train stations. And I really liked it, but nobody else was talking about it. I couldn't convince anybody to watch it. It came out 10 years too early it came out before the whole nostalgia wave hit.
Yeah, because you got after He-Man, the Filmation one was great, and then the Deke series came out and it was awful. Was it like He-Man?
That's the one that I remember the least about. I remember the intro, but I can't remember the episodes.
I liked the New Adventures of He-Man when it came out. I just couldn't get over the different in style. But
that's
actually,
what got me.
Enjoyable to watch it, the New Adventures.
Well, it was like the Deke G.I. Joe as well. Like that, it was hard for me to watch. I'm just like, you get the Marvel Sunbow series, and you're like, man, this is awesome. And then you go to Deke, and you're like, eh. But I think even another series that's like that was the Thundercats series that came out about 10 or 15 years ago.
I was going to bring that.
That was amazing. That was amazing series.
That got canceled after what? One season?
One season, and I was so pumped. And then they brought out this Thundercats Roar crap, and I was like, come on, man.
All these, it's really, isn't it like this Californian style animation? It's like, I think everything what did they call it? I think the Steven Universe animation or something.
Oh,
everything like shit. It's like people deliberately choose to not draw something good looking.
Quick and cheap is probably the way to go, because I know
and they celebrate basically ugliness.
You know what started that trend though? I liked the line when it first started, but then I noticed future cartoons started adopting that style in their different ways. And that was the cartoon run with Dexter's Laboratory, Ed and Eddie, and Johnny Bravo and all that stuff. Like when that run started, I enjoyed Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But then I started seeing other cartoons imitate that style and add their own flair to it. And I'm like, man, this is similar to that one, but now everybody wants to do that similar style of animation.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of lost it with how cartoons was going.
Yeah,
like you said, it was the end of the Western animation, and the last true roar of Western animation we got with Heavy Metal 2000.
Mm.
Yeah, well, it wasn't as great as the first one. It still was enjoyable, and it still was animation.
It still felt powerful. It still felt like it's enjoyable watching it. It was so huge here. We had like the video game for it. It was called here Heavy Metal Fuck 2, FAKK.
Lost in translation over to the States, right?
Yeah. I miss those days.
It's like
if you remember, like back in the days, even some of the cartoons that started here used to be outsourced to Japan and Korea. Like I bring Real Ghostbusters as an example, but you look at those early seasons, some of them really looked like solid Japanese anime, and then others looked like they were made by different animated studios. But they still felt more American when it came to how they looked, even if they were outsourced to foreign countries.
Or one of the coolest cartoons was actually created in Japan. It was not a success there, but then they totally recut it for the Western market. It became a huge hit. At least here it was a huge hit. It was Saber Riders and the Star Sharers.
Yep.
That shit was awesome.
I mean, I think there needs to be more animation geared towards adults. I mean, like Ralph Bakshi did a lot of those movies, like Fire and Ice. He had.
We already talked about that, and of course,
American
like the Lord of the Rings by him.
Yep.
All that rotoscoping, you know.
Yeah,
I love watching the whole thing going back, showing how rotoscoping was and stuff.
I mean, because I know Fire and Ice wasn't a big hit when it came out, but like I can sit down and watch it. I mean, it's just the animation, Frazetta style with Ralph Bakshi is just amazing. You know.
Well, you should watch our show we had about the movie. We had Sarah Frazetta with us talking about it.
Oh, nice.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a great movie. And like you said, the animations, even like the movies we grew up with, like American Tail and the All Dogs Go to Heaven and the Secrets of the
Nim. That's one of my wife's favorite. Yep.
Yeah, that movie was dark. You know, when as far as kid cartoon movies, you know, like you think it's about rats and stuff, but man, there's some dark moments in that movie, and I'm like those are the type of movies that engrossed us as kids. You know, we watched those and they had serious tones on it, but we still loved them and understood what they were.
Or next year when we talk for Halloween, Alvin and the Chipmunk meets the Wolfman. Like, this is a fantastic movie.
All those Alvin and Chipmunk specials were great, though, man. I enjoyed a lot of them.
The Alvin and Chipmunks movie was good. The one where they were smuggling diamonds.
Yeah. Chipmunk Adventure.
That was a good flick.
I always love Alvin and his schemes, man. Like he was told he would just do anything against the grain just to get the scheme over.
And I think you can always see that you have something that there's something special, not only when there's people all around the world watching it and loving it, but also still talking about it so many years later.
Yeah, like I don't hear nobody talk about Care Bears as much as when I was a kid watching that, you know. And I know they had a recent one. They had a recent one a couple years back, but I never really had time to even give it a chance. But yeah, I used to watch Care Bears a lot as a kid. I even had a Care Bear teddy bear.
I'll tell you a series I've been watching rewatching is Batman the Animated Series. Because to me, the debate growing up was what was better, X-Men or Batman the Animated Series. And I rewatched X-Men when Disney Plus came out, and it was all right. It wasn't as good as I remember. But Batman the Animated Series, the music, the art, Bruce Timm art style, the animation is. I mean, even my wife, I had it on the other night. I was doing some work, and she's like, "What are you watching?" And I go, Batman the Animated Series, and she's like, "The music is amazing." Because she's likes the orchestra type, and I go, "It's a great series. I mean, it's the art, the stories, it's the killer show."
It's it's still it's also like you can. It was also so big here when it came out. I absolutely watched it. Everybody watched it, and of course later Batman Beyond, which was called here, weirdly enough, had a different English title. It was called Batman of the Future. And that was the Batman I grew up with, like Terry McGinnis. That was like my favorite Batman. Like I never was into X-Men. I didn't like the comics. I didn't like the X-Men cartoon. Even the opening was kick-ass, of course, the song, but I could never identify with the X-Men. Maybe because I never was an outsider. It's cool or something. Because it's cool, like basically we nerds were the bullies.
I mean, to me, it was always a debate. I mean, because it's weird. Like even my taste in comics has changed as the older I get. When I was younger, I was like all Marvel. All I read was Marvel. And then you get a little older and you're like, well, this DC stuff's pretty good. You start branching to DC and you're like, oh, this is really good. And then now it's like independent. It's like, I need something good to read. So I'm getting like, you read someone who doesn't have like a publisher saying, you got to do this. And they're just telling the story they want to tell.
I think I never had like this brand loyalty. Maybe also it's because both come out here from the same publisher. Mm-hmm. So like Panini, when they took over, they're like releasing DC and Marvel now. So I think it was never like that. Also back in the days when it was, I think DC was still with Harper and Marvel was with Condor. It was just normal to read both, and and I always even like as a kid I wrote, of course, I read what my dad bought, but also later I was like buying a lot of Ghost Rider, which is also interesting because not all Marvel books came out of the same publisher.
Mm.
So I only had later an idea that Ghost Rider was part of the Marvel universe. Like I grew up with the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. Mm-hmm. When I bought like a Spider-Man comics and there was a crossover with Ghost Rider. And I was like, oh my god, this is so kick-ass, the crossing. Oh.
I'll tell you the one series that I will continue to read and that I've been reading for a while now is U.S.A. Yojimbo. That is, to me, the best comic that's consistently put out. One, because it's the same person who's been writing it since 1984, and he tells the story that he wants to tell, and it's historically accurate to the Endo period of Japan, which I'm a big history buff, so you know he does a good job of telling, explaining, and using words. But man, if you're looking for something good to read, I know IDW just took it over, but it went from Fantagraphics to Mirage to Dark Horse, and now it's IDW. U.S.A. Yojimbo is like the one thing, like every actually comes out about 9-10 times a year. When it comes out, that's the one book where I'm like, I have to get it. And of course, I'm like one of the only guys in my shop that orders it. So if it gets shorted, I gotta wait until, or like it gets missed. That's the one book I'm like, every month I'm like, I gotta get it.
That's one book.
I would really like it, but I think it's too late for me to jump on it.
No, I mean they just the arc they just started with IDW is a good jumping on point. Because when they ended it,
I don't want to get into it because it's just another rabbit hole to fall into.
Pun intended.
And I am totally avoiding Turtles and U.S.A. Yojimbo because I totally know, like, I loved the Turtles when I was a kid, and I still remember we talked about it when we talked about the Turtles movies. That I was a huge fan of the television series, and this is how it was introduced to me. And later on, they also released the comics here. And I went to the supermarket and got the Turtles comics. And then I read it. It was like, whoa, this is vastly different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. Like, I felt I was the same way. I watched the cartoon first, and the movie came out. And then I read a reprint of one of the Myriad's Turtles comics. And I'm like, the fuck is this? This ain't the same Turtles that I see on TV.
Yeah.
Like I thought, and I guess, like, they're fighting Triceratops in space, and people are dying.
Yep.
and that's why the 2003 Turtles cartoon actually took more from that comic series than the 87 show did. The 87 show was like, they took little from the comic and did their own thing with it and made it more like comedic, whereas the 2003 series had a more serious tone and more consistent storylines.
The Battle World one is the one I loved, where U.S.A. was in it, and Gen from U.S.A.
Yeah, the big brawl. I remember that story.
Big brawl, man. I was like, oh snap!
I was so happy when I saw U.S.A. I was like, yes, they bringing in U.S.A. because I liked him in the cartoon series of the 80s, but this one U.S.A. felt more grounded and more like his comic character, whereas the 80s one he felt a bit over the top in that cartoon. Like he started out great. But then they started going a little overboard with how he acts.
So the not the current Turtle series, but the one that came up before it, the CGI one, Stan Sakai wrote an arc for that. It was a 3-episode arc with U.S.A. and it was with Jay, the main villain from it, and it was just amazing. Like I just remember when it came out, I was like, oh my god, this is like, it blew my, like I keep on saying blow my mind, but it was like, you know, you had Stan Sakai write it. It was fairly close to his source material. Animation was good. The character felt real. But it was just a great arc for that, like a 3-episode arc. And I was like, man, this is something I can rewatch like 20 times in a row.
Sounds interesting. I remember when we talked to Turtles movies, and it was so funny because actually like the third Turtle movie now the most, which I totally hated as a kid.
Turtles in Time.
But I think it was the total waste to go back to feudal Japan and not have Usagi Yojimbo.
That would have been cool, actually.
Yeah.
But I remember.
It's funny when we talked about that series. I have not seen Turtles 3 since it came out.
Yeah, same. The last time I watched it as a kid was in cinema.
Yeah. So it's like it felt fresh rewatching it because I thought I was gonna hate this movie. I watched it and I'm like, there were certain things I liked in the movie, and the most important aspect was the sword fighting and the use of the weapons that they limited in the first two movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this was the perfect movie for Leonardo to showcase his sword skills. And I was like, man, we didn't get that in the first two movies because they were trying so hard to like take away Mikey's nunchucks and not show the ninja skills and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And while the third movie is still campy and they brought back Casey Jones, but we didn't get all of Casey Jones, it still was an enjoyable film.
Yeah, my favorite of the Turtles one now. Like you was the last time I saw it was in cinema when I was a kid and was like, this is not what I signed up for. I wanted to see New York.
I remember my mom won tickets when that movie came out, and we got to see it like at a pre-screening. You know what I mean? Like the movie came out Friday, but we got to see it on Thursday because my mom won tickets or something on the radio. When you call in and actually have to answer questions. And I remember they gave us like the single soundtrack. They gave us a Panini sticker book, for being, winning the contest. And I just remember seeing the movie and I was just like, at the time, Turtles were so big. And it was like amazing to see it on the big screen. And like, I couldn't wait for the sequel to come out. And I mean, it was one of those movies that's, again, I don't want to say it was low budget because of the costumes, but it was a lower budget movie, but had great appeal, kind of like a canon film. You know what I mean? Like it all kind of was like, yeah, lower budget, but story was good. It wrapped up at the end. They defeated the Shredder. It was fun.
If they could have stuck with the serious tone of that movie, it would have been a lot better. But they were like shifting between serious and campiness, and sometimes it hurt certain scenes throughout that movie. Like I loved the Shredder in that movie.
Yeah,
he was amazing.
The acting was also phenomenal.
Yeah, and my favorite part is when Shredder falls into
the garbage.
And Casey's like, "Oops." That shit always cracked me up.
That was
the one part in that movie that got me always is when Raphael just gets worked. He gets worked like hard, and they take him up to the farm and they think he's gonna die. They have him in the bathtub, and I'm like, "Oh man, is Raph gonna die on the farm?" And
I like how they flipped that in the Ninja Turtles 2003 cartoon, where it was Leonardo that got worked over by Shredder in the foot.
Yep.
And Raphael was the one concerned for Leonardo when they took him up to the farm.
Yep.
So I like that.
We're already reaching the 2-hour mark. Was a real fun stream today. I know we didn't talk too much of Invasion USA.
Well, we got most of the first hour. The first hour we talked a lot about it.
It's also it doesn't have like the biggest plot where you can like dissect it, but fantastic movie, absolutely love it, and it's a holiday classic, so don't forget to watch it this Christmas season. But since this is the season, we're gonna continue next week with another movie that is technically not a Christmas movie, but we think it is because it takes part during Christmas. We're going to talk about Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. And we totally have to order pizza next week and have our scissors ready to properly cut the pizza.
I ain't doing that shit.
Wait, in Germany, do they use scissors to cut pizza?
In Austria.
Wait a minute, I missed something big here.
Not so far, but maybe I'm gonna do the trend. But let's just say a lot of people here love Cobra.
Oh, okay.
So
it's the movie site that I'm writing for is doing a Christmas party. They're always booking the Cobra room here at a restaurant because it's the Cobra room.
So, John, you down with us next week on that?
Let me get back with you. I got to double check. If I'm free, I'm in. Man, I love Cobra. He's got that sweet car. I mean, just a great flick, man. But I'll check, make sure. Again, I'm sorry, work. You know how it is on Friday. Someone puts a call on your calendar at 3, and you're like, this is not going to be over in 30 minutes on Friday afternoon. But yeah, if I'm free, I'm down, man. Like I said, Cobra is a classic. It's a good Stallone movie.
And as you know, on a Friday, boredom is the disease, and we are the cure.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, so we're gonna do Cobra next week and Die Hard the following week, right?
Let me check. It's the 10th, 11th. Yes, because I don't think we're gonna do a stream on the 24th. Yes, next week Cobra, and then on the 10th Cobra, and on the 17th we're gonna talk about Die Hard 1 and 2, and everybody's gonna hate me because I think that the second Die Hard is way better than the first one.
Hey, Christmas isn't Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off the Nakatomi Tower. I'm just saying.
And that classic score plays like, dun, dun, and you see, look it up. Oh man, I can't wait to talk that movie though. Even if VV doesn't like it as much, man, it's still a great movie, man.
It's still a great movie. It's like I'm not debating that. It's too long. It's too long. The first one.
I will say though, Bruce Willis is a great action actor, but I wish he doesn't get the acclimates I think he deserves. I mean, he's a great actor. I mean, 12 Monkeys, he got some accolades for 12 Monkeys, but he's just one of those people who's believable. He's like not a big guy, but you could tell he's tough. He's got
exactly. That's the mistake. I wanted to have Commando 2.
Yep. I mean, he's one of those guys where you're like, man, he's not a big guy, but you're like, that's a tough son of a bitch right there. That's a guy I wouldn't mess with.
I don't want to
have a beer with. You know, like
I want to have like in America 300 pounds of flesh and muscle.
So if Die Hard had Hulk Hogan in it, it would have been amazing, huh?
Exactly.
Oh man, one of these days you're gonna have to talk No Holds Bar.
We did.
Hulk Hogan.
We talked
I missed that.
A whole stream talking Hulk Hogan in Hollywood.
Oh my God, the Hulkster, man! Did you bring up Thunder in Paradise?
Of course we did.
Oh, that is criminally. It's Airwolf, Knight Rider, boat. That's all I gotta say.
and a little bit of Baywatch.
A little bit of Baywatch. It's like, yeah, Hulk Hogan.
Matter of fact, that episode with Baywatch when Hogan and Flair was on there.
Oh my God!
We also talked about that one.
My man, Ric Flair, greatest wrestler of all time. Y'all can say what you want. Woo! The Nate can make some schlub look like the man for 60 minutes. And then he'd work him for 5 and win the keep the belt. But the Nate, man, woo! I'm surprised the Nate hasn't been in more stuff, man. He needs to start getting his acting out there. I watch him. I saw that Migos video, Ric Flair drip, man. He did a good job on there.
I can't stand the Migos. I'm like, damn, why they gotta get Ric Flair? Man,
I'll tell you what, that video though, that's what I envisioned the Nate doing on the weekend. He's rolling up with his boys in the Rolls Royce. Puts on the robe, women feeding him grapes, putting his Rolex on, his jewelry. That's the man right there.
Hey,
I mean, Tony Schiavone needs to interview him again.
Hey, you gotta beat the man.
Hey, all they need is his main rival, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes, man.
My God.
They cut promos, man.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you the Nate and Dusty put on some good matches. The Nate and Steamboat put on some great matches. But man, I'll tell you what, that stable, the 4 Horsemen stable, that was him, Arn, Tully, where you had Ole or Barry Windham or Lex. I mean, it was, you kind of insert guy 4, but I mean, I liked when Barry was there too. I liked old Ole, but man, Barry Windham was a good member of that stable too.
It was no Dungeon of Doom.
No Dungeon of Doom. But man, they were having fun drinking beer and getting ladies, man. That's all that mattered.
Hey, rewatching, reliving the war with man, Kevin Sullivan be cutting promos that make no goddamn sense. Like, man, what? He be saying all types of shit that I'm like, what's the fucking point, man?
What are we doing here, Kev?
Yeah, like I'm glad Wrestling Bios is exposing that, because even when I was younger, I'm like, the fuck you talking about, Kevin?
What was the one you sent me? You sent me the clip where it was about Glacier, when Glacier was coming, and he came to like 3 months after he was supposed to come out. I thought Glacier was gonna be the man, because when he came out, I'm like, this dude's gonna be bad. Look at all these promos. I'm like, yeah, it's like, you know, with the guys like January, or it's like July 7th, still no Glacier. That cracked me up, man. I was watching. I was like, that's true. Like, what happened?
So, Sean, do you have anything planned this weekend?
I gotta see, man. I gotta see if I do a show tomorrow. I think there's a Comic Con show tomorrow, so I'll be down for that. But I gotta see how my day starts out tomorrow.
As long as no more hating on the ending of Conan the Destroyer.
I knew you heard me say, I'm like, oh, PV.
Yeah. I'm actually watching that.
So are they going to make a King Conan movie or not? I've been hearing rumblings of this for about 10 years. With
Arnold. Terminator Dark Fate basically killed it.
That's the one movie I could see, you know, because when Arnold posed and he had the King, you know,
I can't say, you know, of course I would like to see it, but it coming out in the current climate, it's, you know, sometimes you just should let things rest before somebody can dig it up and fuck the corpse.
Yeah, we don't need it being butchered, man.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Harold Ramis said with Caddyshack 2. Just let it die.
Yeah.
Let it die.
Man, the first Caddyshack is instant classic. But man, Caddyshack 2 had some funny parts. But man, you should do a Rodney Dangerfield one. I mean, Rodney Dangerfield doesn't have that many movies, but they are all classic. I don't care if it's
you're not watching the streams here when you're not on, right?
I do sometimes. Usually, man, I got to get off work.
Last week we had like
we talked to Harold Ramis films that he directed and written last week. But the funny thing is, VV wasn't prepared because he only seen a few of them. So it's like, you got to watch Back to School and Stripes and
Back to School. Oh my God, that is like
classic. To me, that's top Dangerfield for me. Like that movie.
Yes, that movie right there, which they filmed at University of Wisconsin, is one of those movies I can sit down and watch. Like my dad and my mom absolutely love that movie too, and we will sit down and watch. I mean, of course, it has the formula of 80s movie and some weird sport that no one freaking does, diving. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm sure like there's people out there diving, but you know,
I love when Rodney Dangerfield does the dive at the end. You can clearly see it's a stunt man doing it.
The triple landing, and it's some other dude with a wig. Hey, young Robert Downey Jr. in that flick. Real young Robert Downey Jr.
So I had gotta cut this down. We're already 8 minutes over 2 hours.
Yeah, let's end it before
it's after midnight here. So I slowly have to get in another position. So it was great fun today talking Invasion U.S.A. and taking a trip down a nostalgia lane. We're talking about some video games and other 80s and 90s goodness. And I'm very much looking forward to next week when we talk Cobra. And of course, thanks to everybody in the live chat. We had a blast. Thanks, of course, to Sean. As always, incredible having you here. And of course, thanks to John. You're always also a great addition when you have time to join the streams.
Apologies for the last 2 times I've been late.
It doesn't matter. It's like you just need a good entrance. It's like
Gotta come in strong. Gotta come in strong.
yeah.
And if you want to watch Invasion USA, it's streaming free on Tubi and Pluto TV.
That's why I watched it on Tubi.
I watched it on Pluto today in the background. The only thing is I don't like all the commercials that come up I'm like, God dang it. I'm like, and the worst is they show the same 4 commercials over and over again. I'm like,
Yeah,
I've never tried any of these products.
Hey, let's end the stream.
You don't like commercials?
I like some commercials, but I don't like.
Are you a communist?
No, I'm very much of a.
This sounds like somebody a communist would say. They don't
no, the thing is, give me some variety of commercials so I don't tune it out. Like,
and now he also wants diversity. Oh, he's like,
I want diversity.
You're just digging your grave deep.
I'm sounding like one of the classes I have to do at work: diversity and inclusion. We've all had to take those classes.
Oh yeah, like since I'm teaching, I can sing songs about.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, so fantastic show today. Thanks, Sean, and thanks, John. Can't wait to talk Cobra. But now, for me, it's time to sleep, and for all of you across the pond, it's time to start a savage weekend.
Yeah.
Later, y'all.
Okay, bye-bye.